Don't touch him again. The words came from somewhere around hip height. Not from Nadia. From Leo. 2 years old. Standing in the middle of the most expensive room he had ever been in, one small finger pointed directly at the woman in the cream silk dress, his expression showing the specific uncomplicated outrage of a child who has been wronged and has not yet learned to be quiet about it. Jaeyeon looked down at the toddler. Her expression moved through several things in under 2 seconds. Surprise. Then something that was not quite amusement and not quite contempt, but lived in the territory between them. Then a very specific kind of stillness. The kind that happened when someone was deciding how to respond to something they had not prepared for. The scratch on her wrist was already fatting. It had never been deep. It had barely been a scratch. But the way Jaeyeon was holding her wrist up, the way her chin had lifted, the way the whole room had gone completely silent, she was making it mean something. Nadia was across the room in 3 steps. Her hands were shaking. She pulled Leo behind her. She looked at Jaeyeon. She thought about the job. About the studio apartment 20 minutes away. About Leo's winter coat she still needed to buy. About 6 months of keeping her head down. About 6 months of being invisible in the specific way that people in her position learned to be invisible because it was the job as much as the cleaning was. She thought about all of it in approximately 1 second. Then she said, very quietly, "He's 2 years old." Jaeyeon looked at her. Not at Leo. At her. The specific look of someone recalibrating. "Your child bit me," Jaeyeon said. "He scratched you," Nadia kept her voice level, "because you grabbed his arm." The room was very still. 23 rooms in this penthouse, and somehow they had all compressed into this one. Mrs. O was in the doorway. 2 other members of the household staff were somewhere behind her. And by the window, in the wheelchair, completely still, his dark eyes moving between Nadia and Jaeyeon with the specific quality of attention that Nadia had learned over 6 months to read as completely different from the absent look people assumed it was. Min-yi was watching. "He grabbed the vase," Jaeyeon said. Her voice had recovered. Smooth, practiced, the specific voice of a woman who understood that the first person to sound unreasonable in a room like this lost. "It's worth $40,000, I reacted." "You grabbed a 2-year-old's arm hard enough to make him cry out," Nadia said. Jaeyeon looked at her wrist. She looked at Nadia. She looked at the room. "In my own home," she said, "I cannot be expected. It's my home." The words were quiet. They came from the window. Everyone looked at Min-yi. He was looking at Jaeyeon. Not at the scratch. Not at Leo. At her. "The boy stays," he said. Something changed in Jaeyeon's face. It was too fast for most people to catch. But Nadia had spent 6 months studying the faces of everyone in this penthouse, the way you studied the faces of people who had power over your livelihood. She caught it. It was not anger. It was not surprise. It was the specific expression of someone who has just received information they already had and are deciding what to do with it. The smile arrived immediately after. Practiced. Warm. The kind of smile that had been designed specifically to arrive immediately after unwelcome information. "Of course, sweetheart," Jaeyeon said, moving toward Min-yi with the practiced ease of a woman crossing a room she owned. "I was just startled. You know how I feel about surprises." Her hand settled on the back of his wheelchair. Nadia looked at the hand. She looked at Min-yi. His expression had returned to the specific blankness he wore when he was being watched. Not absent. Waiting. She was beginning to understand the difference. Leo was still standing beside her. He had stopped pointing. He was looking at Min-yi now with the complete unfiltered curiosity that only children and very honest adults brought to anything. He pointed at the wheelchair. "Man," Leo announced, sad. Jaeyeon looked at the toddler. Something moved through her expression that was not the practiced warmth. Nadia scooped Leo up. "We'll get out of your way," she said quietly. She looked at Mrs. O in the doorway. "I'll take him to the kitchen." She was already moving. She did not look back at Min Yi. She did not see the way he was watching her walk away. She did not see the way his jaw tightened slightly when Jai Yon's hand moved from the wheelchair to his shoulder. She did not see him looking at Leo, who was looking back over his mother's shoulder with those eyes. She did not see any of it. She was too busy keeping her breathing even. The kitchen was warm and smelled of the dinner Mrs. O had arranged and Nadia had helped prepare, and that had been eaten 2 hours ago by people who did not know her name. She put Leo down. She gave him the small bag of crackers from her apron pocket. He accepted them the way he accepted everything, with complete dignity and immediate focus. She gripped the edge of the counter. She breathed. She was not going to panic. She was going to do what she always did, which was the specific list of practical things. She had Leo. She had a job, possibly. She had the keys to the studio apartment 20 minutes away. She had tomorrow morning. She breathed. Leo tapped the counter twice with a cracker to get her attention. She looked at him. He offered her a cracker. "Thank you," she said. She took it. She did not eat it. She held it and breathed and thought about what she had just done. She had spoken. 6 months of not speaking, and she had spoken. She had said he's 2 years old to a woman who wore an engagement ring that cost more than Nadia would earn in a decade. She had said it because it was true. And because Leo had cried out. And because the sound of her child crying out was the one thing in the world that completely removed her ability to be invisible. She heard the soft electric sound of the wheelchair. She kept her back to the kitchen doorway. She was not going to turn around. She was not going to react. She was going to be exactly what she had been for 6 months. Invisible. Functional. Present without being present. She grabbed his arm, Min Yi said from the doorway. Nadia did not turn around. "I saw," he said. "I want you to know that." She turned around. He was in the doorway. The kitchen light was different from the main rooms, warmer, more ordinary, the light of a room where real things happened rather than performed ones. He looked different in it. She had not noticed that before. He looked at Leo. Leo looked at him. "Man," Leo said, "cracker." He held one out. Nadia watched Kang Min Yi, Korean technology billionaire, Fortune 500 list 4 years running, man in a wheelchair in a 40,000 square foot Manhattan penthouse. Look at a 2-year-old offering him a cracker. Something moved through his expression. He took it. "Thank you," he said. Leo was satisfied. He turned back to his crackers. Min Yi looked at Nadia. She looked at him. She waited. He said, "Your position here is not in jeopardy." She said, "I appreciate that, Mr. Kang." "Min Yi," he said, "in this kitchen after that." She looked at him. He looked at her. Something in the kitchen was different from anything that had happened in the previous 6 months. She could not name it. She filed it. He turned the chair. He left. She stood in the kitchen with Leo and a cracker and the warm, ordinary light and the feeling of something having shifted without her knowing in which direction. Welcome to Afro-Korean Love Stories. Drop your city and the time it is where you are in the comments right now. Drop a yellow heart for Leo, who offered a cracker to a billionaire and changed everything. Subscribe if you haven't already. Because what is behind the wheelchair, and what Jai Yon is actually doing, and what a toddler sees that everyone else is too careful to say. This story is only just beginning. Stay with me. By morning, Nadia had rebuilt her explanation. Min Yi had spoken up because Jai Yon had been disruptive. That was all. He was a precise man who disliked disruption. He had intervened because it was efficient. Not because of her. Not because of Leo. Because disruption was inefficient. She repeated this while she made his coffee. Black, no sugar, white ceramic mug. The specific one that had appeared on the counter on her 3rd day and had been his coffee mug every morning since. She carried the tray to the sunroom. He was there. He was always there before the house woke up. She had wondered about this many times. Whether he slept in the chair. Whether he woke before everyone to be positioned before the watching began. She had not asked. She set the tray down. She stepped back. "Sit down," he said. She looked at the chair near the window. She looked at him. "Please," he said, 5 minutes. She pulled the chair over. She sat. She folded her hands in her lap because she did not know what else to do with them. He looked at the window for a moment. The morning light was coming in pale and flat. October light. She knew what October light looked like in a room she cleaned 3 times a week. "How old is your son?" he asked. 2, she said. "He'll be 3 in January." "Leo." She looked at him. "You know his name." "I know most things that happen in this house." She said nothing. He picked up the coffee. He took a sip. He put it down. He looked at her. "His father," he said. She kept her expression even. "Not in the picture." He nodded. He did not push. She noticed. Most people pushed. "Does he come with you often?" "Only when I can't arrange childcare. I know it's not." "I'm not asking to complain," he said. "I'm asking because if it's a regular issue, there's a room near the kitchen that isn't being used. He should have a proper space." She stared at him. "How do you know about the room I've been using?" Something moved through his expression. "I know most things that happen in this house," he said again. She sat with this. She thought about 6 months of being invisible. She thought about what invisible meant to a man who apparently saw everything. She thought about the wheelchair. She thought about the specific way he held himself in it. She had been thinking about this since the first week. There was something about the way his shoulders carried his weight. The way he reached for things. The way his body moved in the chair, not like someone who had lost the use of their legs, but like someone who had decided to sit down and stay sitting. She had told herself she was imagining it. She looked at him now. She said, "I need this job. That's the honest answer to every question you're about to ask." He looked at her. "Honest," he said, quietly, almost to himself. "Good." He looked at the window. "Jae-yeon is going to make things difficult for you," he said. "I want you to know that has nothing to do with your performance." "I know that. If she does anything that crosses a line, you come to me directly." She looked at him. "That puts me in an uncomfortable position." "I know. I'm not in a position to navigate whatever is happening between you and—" "I'm not asking you to navigate it," he said. "I'm asking you to report to me directly if something crosses a line." She looked at him. "Can you do that?" She thought about it. She thought about all the practical things. "Yes," she said. He nodded. He looked at the window. She understood the conversation was finished. She stood. She pushed the chair back. She was at the door when he said, "Leo is welcome in the kitchen whenever you need. Make sure Mrs. O knows." She nodded. She walked out. She made it to the hallway before she exhaled. She did not see Jae-yeon at the top of the stairs, above the sunroom's glass ceiling. Looking down through the pane. Her expression not quite jealousy. Something older and more deliberate. Her phone already out. A message being typed to a contact, saved under 2 initials. Jae-yeon moved carefully. That was the first thing Nadia learned to see. She did not move loudly. She did not make obvious threats. She moved in the specific way of someone who understood that the most effective pressure was the kind that could not be pointed to. The cleaning supplies that were replaced with ones that left streaks. The coffee tray that disappeared and reappeared in the wrong place. The morning that Mrs. O called Nadia into the small office off the kitchen with her hands folded and her expression carefully neutral, and told her there had been a complaint about her manner during the incident with the toddler. "From who?" Nadia asked. Mrs. O did not answer. "Has Mr. Kang been informed of these concerns?" Nadia asked. Mrs. O paused. "I haven't spoken to him directly." I'd like to request that before any formal action is taken, the concerns be brought to Mr. Kang directly, Nadia said. I believe that's within my rights as a staff member. Mrs. O looked at her for a long time. I'll note your request, she said. Nadia thanked her and left. She did not look at Jae-yeon when she passed her in the corridor. She kept her face the specific arrangement of a woman who was slightly worried, but not confrontational. She had learned how to perform slightly worried without becoming it. On Thursday morning, Jae-yeon appeared in the kitchen while Nadia was making Leo's breakfast. Leo was on the floor with a wooden spoon he had adopted. He was using it to investigate the cabinet door with great concentration. Jae-yeon stopped in the doorway. She looked at Leo. She looked at Nadia. She walked to the counter and poured herself water. She leaned against the counter and watched Nadia work. She said, How long have you been doing this kind of work? Nadia put Leo's oatmeal on the floor beside him. She turned around. About 6 years, she said, since I was 22. You're smart, Jae-yeon said. Her voice was careful in the way of someone testing ice. You seem like a smart woman. Don't you want more than this? Nadia looked at her. I want my son to eat breakfast and my bills to be paid, she said. This is how I do both. Jae-yeon tilted her head slightly. Min Yi is generous, she said, to people who are loyal to him. The kitchen changed temperature. Nadia kept her face still. Mr. Kang is my employer, she said. I do my job, that's the extent of it. Jae-yeon smiled. It was a very specific smile. The kind that had been engineered over time. I know, she said. I just want to make sure we understand each other. She paused. I am going to be the woman in this house. I take care of the people who are loyal to me. Another pause. I also remember the ones who aren't. Leo banged the wooden spoon against the cabinet. The sound was very loud in the kitchen. Jae-yeon looked at him. 1 second. Unguarded. Her face showed something that was not strategy. Something that looked like a woman who did not know what to do with a child who looked at her without calculation. Then she put her glass down and walked out. Nadia crouched beside Leo. You all right, bub? Leo offered her the spoon. She took it. She turned it over in her hands. She thought about what had just happened. Jae-yeon had not threatened her. Not exactly. But the message was completely clear. Pick a side. Fall in line. Understand that the line was wherever Jae-yeon drew it. Nadia thought about Min Yi saying, come to me directly. She thought about what that meant. She thought about what she was in the middle of. She did not yet know the full shape of it. She was starting to understand the edges. She learned more 3 days later. Not by looking. By carrying linens past the study at exactly the wrong moment. Her hands were full. She had slowed down to readjust her grip. The door was not fully closed. She heard Jae-yeon's voice first. The prenup needs to be modified. The current terms don't reflect. We haven't discussed an agreement. Min Yi's voice. Even, controlled. Ethan, we've discussed an engagement. The prenup stands. You're being difficult. I'm being clear. There's a difference. Silence. You don't trust me, Jae-yeon said. Her voice had gone soft. The weapon had changed. I trust evidence, Min Yi said. I haven't collected enough yet. Nadia walked away quickly. Her pulse was very loud. She did not know what the conversation meant. She did not know what evidence he was looking for. But she was beginning to understand that this penthouse was not what it appeared from the outside. And she was inside it. With Leo. Whether she had chosen to be or not. That night after Leo was asleep in the small room off the kitchen, the proper one, with a real cot that had appeared 2 days after Min Yi mentioned it, Nadia sat on the floor outside his door with her back against the wall. She had her phone in her hand. She typed a message to her best friend. Something is wrong in this house, and I don't know how wrong. She looked at it. She deleted it. She typed, Leo made friends with a wooden spoon today. He's very serious about it. She sent that instead. She sat with her back against the wall. She thought about trust evidence. She thought about the wheelchair. She thought about 26 days. Gerald, the assistant, had mentioned that number once in passing. 26 days since the accident, and what a man could learn about the people around him in 26 days of watching from a chair. She thought about what she had learned. She thought about what she still did not know. She sat in the corridor until midnight. She did not know that Min Yi's door was open 2 inches at the end of the hall. She did not know about the thin line of light falling across the floor toward her. She did not know that he was sitting in the dark of his room, listening to the building breathe, and thinking about a woman who had said he's 2 years old in a voice that was terrified and honest in equal measure, and had said it anyway. The call came on a Friday. Nadia was in the East Wing bathroom. She was cleaning. The window was open because the cleaning solution required ventilation. She heard Jae-yeon's voice from the garden below, carrying upward in the October air. She was not listening. She was about to close the window. Jae-yeon's first sentence stopped her hand. He still thinks, I don't know about the surveillance. Nadia went completely still. Relax, I'm handling it. The prenup isn't going to be a problem once the marriage goes through. I need more time. A pause. He's not as diminished as we thought. A longer pause. The accident slowed him down. It didn't change who he is. He's watching everything. Another pause. That's what he does. That's always what he's done. I knew that going in. Her voice dropped slightly. The maid is the issue. Nadia sat on the edge of the tub. Her legs had made the decision for her. She pressed her hands flat on her thighs. I don't know what he's told her or how much she's figured out. She needs to go before she becomes a problem. Make it look like a performance issue. I'll handle Mrs. O. The call ended. A garden door closed. Nadia sat in the bathroom for 4 minutes. She counted. Then she stood up. She finished cleaning the sink. She walked downstairs like nothing had happened. She was good at that. She had been good at that for a long time. But her mind was moving. The accident. 26 days in the wheelchair. She thought about Min Yi's body in the chair. She thought about every small observation she had filed, and then told herself she was imagining. The way he shifted his weight when he reached for something on his left. The way his back was straight in a way that was a choice, not a compensation. The morning his foot had moved under the blanket in a way that was too deliberate to be involuntary. She thought about I trust evidence. I haven't collected enough yet. She thought about what it meant to watch a house from a chair that you did not need. She thought about 26 days. She thought about what a man like Min Yi could learn in 26 days of being underestimated. She thought about Jae-yeon's voice. He still thinks, I don't know about the surveillance. 2 people watching the same house. Neither of them knowing how much the other had seen. And Nadia in the middle. With Leo. With a job she could not afford to lose. With a winter coat she still needed to buy. She was still thinking all of this when Min Yi's voice came from behind her. Nadia. She was in the corridor outside the library. She turned. He was in the doorway. Can you come in for a moment? The library was the room in the penthouse that felt most like a room where real things could be said. Floor-to-ceiling shelves. Reading lamps in the corners. The light amber and still. She sat in the chair across from him. She folded her hands. She waited. How much have you heard in this house? He said. She looked at him. She thought about the practical things. She said, enough. He nodded. He looked like he had expected that. And what have you done with what you've heard? Nothing, she said. It's not my business. It might need to become your business, he said, temporarily, and I would compensate you. She looked at him. What does that mean exactly? He was quiet for a moment. He looked at his hands. He looked at her. Jae-yeon is not who she says she is, he said. I've known this for some time. I'm in the process of confirming what I know and finding the proof I need before I take action. He paused. The engagement is not real. It's a container. Something I'm using to keep a situation controlled while I collect what I need. She stared at him. You're using your own engagement as a trap. I'm protecting my company, he said, and then I'm going to burn the whole thing down. She sat with this. The wheelchair, she said. He said nothing, which was its own answer. You've been sitting in that chair for 26 days watching everyone. Still nothing. She exhaled. She pressed her fingers to her temple. She thought about Leo in the room off the kitchen. She thought about Jae-yeon's voice through the east wing bathroom window. She needs to go before she becomes a problem. She looked at Min-yi. She knows about the surveillance, she said. She told someone this morning, east wing bathroom window, she was in the garden. Something moved through Min-yi's expression. You heard that today? Yes. He was quiet for a long moment. He looked at her with a specific directness that she had come to understand was his version of dropping every layer. She's going to have Mrs. O start a performance file on you, he said. I need you to know that before she acts on it. Nadia was very still. I know, she said. She said to make it look like a performance issue. Something in Min-yi's face shifted. Something that might have been the closest thing to relief she had ever seen on a controlled face. Then you already know most of it, he said. I know she wants me gone, Nadia said. I don't know what you want. He looked at her. Really looked at her. Without the wheelchair performance. Without the absent-looking blankness. Just direct. I want you to stay, he said. I want Leo to stay, and I want Jae-yeon to believe that nothing has changed. She looked at him. You're asking me to trust you. I'm asking you to give me 5 days, he said. That's all, 5 days. She thought about the studio apartment. She thought about Leo's winter coat. She thought about 6 months of being meticulous. She thought about a man who had taken a cracker from a 2-year-old without making a thing of it. She said, 5 days. He nodded. The next morning, Nadia acted like nothing had changed. She made the coffee. She carried it to the sunroom. She cleaned the rooms. She kept Leo in the kitchen, where he had developed a complex ongoing relationship with a rubber spatula, and seemed genuinely content with its company. Jae-yeon was watching her. Nadia felt it continuously. Jae-yeon appeared in doorways that Nadia was cleaning. She asked questions that sounded casual. She complimented Nadia's work in a way that felt like circling. Nadia kept her face open. She said thank you. She smiled at appropriate moments. On the second day, Mrs. O called her into the small office. She told Nadia there had been concerns raised about her reliability, about Leo being a disruption, about her manner with household guests being occasionally inappropriate. Has Mr. Kang been informed? Nadia asked. Pause. Not directly. I'd like to request that, before any formal action is taken, the concerns be brought to Mr. Kang directly, Nadia said. Another pause. I'll note your request. She thanked Mrs. O and left. She did not look at Jae-yeon in the corridor. She looked at the floor. She performed slightly worried precisely. That afternoon, she passed a note to Min-yi through the system they had worked out the previous evening. A folded piece of paper placed under a specific book on the library's second shelf. She wrote, Mrs. O meeting happened, V accelerating. 2 hours later, the book had moved 3 inches to the left. Stay the course. She stayed the course. On the 4th day, Leo caused the second incident. He was not trying to. He was too. He had wandered from the kitchen. Nadia had been changing linens 2 rooms away for 4 minutes, maybe 5, and found his way into the sitting room. Jae-yeon was in the sitting room with a man Nadia had never seen before. Late 40s. Gray suit. The kind of face that appeared at the edges of certain news stories about acquisitions and corporate restructuring. They were talking over papers spread across the coffee table. Leo walked in and looked at the papers with the expression of someone encountering a new territory worth exploring. The man in the gray suit said something sharp. Jae-yeon stood. She looked at Leo. Her expression went cold in the specific way of someone whose real face had appeared before the performance could reinstall. She stepped toward him. She reached for his arm. Leo cried out. Nadia was in the doorway 14 seconds later. She knew it was 14 seconds because she counted them later, trying to understand how she had crossed 3 rooms without deciding to. She was across the sitting room before Jae-yeon had registered she was there. Don't touch him again. Her voice came out differently from the first time. Not afraid. Not performing. Just absolute. The specific voice of a woman who has reached the edge of something and is on the other side of it now. She took Leah. She checked his arm. Red. Not broken. She held him against her. She looked at the man in the gray suit. She had looked at him for 1 second. She registered the papers on the table. She saw Min Yi's company name. She saw numbers that were too large to be anything other than acquisition figures. She looked at Jae-yeon. Jae-yeon looked back at her. Get out of this room, Jae-yeon said. I'm taking my son, Nadia said. We're leaving. She walked out. She walked directly to the library. She put Leo down. She moved the book. She waited. 3 minutes. The wheelchair appeared in the doorway. Gray suit, she said quietly. Sitting room. Acquisition papers on the table. I only had a second. Your company name, numbers in the hundreds of millions. Min Yi was very still. Did he see you look? Jae-yeon did. He didn't. Min Yi pulled out his phone. He made a call. He said 3 sentences. The call lasted 40 seconds. He put the phone away. He sat for a moment. He looked at Nadia. 5 days is up, he said. I know, she said. Stay here, he said. Keep Leo here. He turned the chair toward the door. He put his hands on the armrests. He pushed. He stood up. No drama. No announcement. Just a man who had been sitting down for a long time, deciding he was done sitting. He was taller than she had understood. Over 6 feet. He straightened his shirt. He looked back at her. Thank you, he said. He walked out. His footsteps quiet on the marble. Toward the sitting room. Nadia sat on the library floor beside Leo. Leo was investigating the lowest shelf with deep scholarly interest. She pressed her hand flat over her heart. She listened. Min Yi's voice first. Even. Direct. Then the man in the gray suit, a sound like surprise finding him before he was ready for it. Then Jae-yeon, sharp, then very quiet. A door closing. Silence for several minutes. Then Min Yi's voice again, closer on the phone, saying something she couldn't make out. Leo pulled a book from the shelf and handed it to her. Read, he said. She opened it. Her hands were shaking slightly. She read him the first page. Then the second. She was on the third when Min Yi appeared in the doorway. He looked at her. He looked at Leo. He looked at the book. Good one, he asked. Bear, Leo said. Big bear. Sounds excellent, Min Yi said. He came into the library. He sat in the chair across from them. Not the wheelchair. A regular chair. He sat in it like a man who had been sitting in furniture that fit him his whole life. He looked at Nadia. It's over, he said. She looked at him. The man in the gray suit is named Park Sung-woo, he said. He's been working with a competing firm for 7 months to acquire my company through manufactured personal crisis. Jae-yeon's access to my private life, my schedule, my vulnerabilities, she was providing it. Specifically. Nadia looked at the book in her hands. The wheelchair was supposed to be evidence of incapacity, he said. A CEO who was diminished. A company that needed new leadership from outside. She looked up. They were very wrong about the diminished part. He looked at her. Something moved through his expression. And very wrong about you, he said. They identified you as someone to neutralize. They underestimated what you would actually see. She sat with this. I saw a man in a gray suit for 1 second, she said. You saw the right thing in the 1 second you had. Leo closed the book. He looked at Min Yi. He slid off Nadia's lap. He walked to Min Yi's chair. He put his hand on Min Yi's knee. He reached into his pocket. He produced a rubber band. He held it out. Min Yi looked at the rubber band. He looked at Leo. He took it. "Thank you," he said. Leo nodded with great gravity. He walked back to the bookshelf. Min Yi looked at the rubber band in his hand. He looked at Nadia. Something in his expression was different from everything she had seen in 6 months of watching him. The specific quality of a man who has stopped performing something. Not the wheelchair performance. Something larger. The whole performance. The carefully maintained distance. The not seeing her for 6 months. The whatever that had been about. He was not performing any of it now. "Leo's father," he said. She kept her expression even. "Not in the picture. He left." "Yes." "When Leo was 7 months old," she said. "He was quiet. After I told him I was pregnant, he stayed for 2 months," she said. "Then he said he wasn't strong enough for this kind of life." She looked at her hands. "So I built a different kind." He looked at her. "What kind?" "The kind where I don't need him to be strong," she said. "The kind where Leo gets what he needs regardless." He was quiet for a moment. "You've been doing that for 2 years." "Yes." "In someone else's house." "In several someone's houses," she said. "This is the best one." He almost smiled. Almost. She noticed. She noticed because she had been noticing Min Yi's almost expressions for 6 months. She said, "Can I ask you something?" He looked at her. "The wheelchair, 26 days." He waited. "Why me?" she said. "Why tell me? Why involve me in it? You could have done this without me." He looked at the rubber band. He looked at Leo. He said, "You told Jai Yon not to touch your son." She waited. "You were terrified when you said it," he said. "I could see it. Your hands were shaking." He paused. "And you said it anyway." She looked at him. "I thought," he said, "that was the most honest thing I had seen in a very long time." The library was very quiet. Leo appeared at Nadia's knee with another book. "More," he said. She opened it. She read. Min Yi stayed in the chair across from them. He listened. He held the rubber band. Jai Yon left on a Tuesday. 3 suitcases. The engagement ring on the hall table. She did not look at Nadia on her way out. She did not look at anyone. She walked through the lobby of the penthouse building with the specific posture of a woman who was still deciding what her exit meant. Nadia watched from the 2nd floor. Leo on her hip. His chin on her shoulder. "Lady going?" he asked. "Home," she said. "She's going home." "Okay," Leo said. He pointed at a bird on the window ledge. Mrs. O apologized that afternoon. Brief. Slightly uncomfortable. Completely sincere. Nadia accepted it the same way. Gerald appeared after that and said Mr. Kang would like to see her in the sunroom when she had a moment. She took Leah. She wasn't sure why. Instinct. Min Yi was in the sunroom in a regular chair. Not the wheelchair. It was against the wall. He looked, Nadia thought, like a man who had put something down after carrying it for a long time. He looked younger. The pretense had been the heavier thing. He said, "Sit down, please." She sat. Leo climbed onto the chair beside her like he had been doing it for years. He looked at Min Yi. He put his hand on Min Yi's knee again. He looked at the coffee cup. "Hot," he announced. "Very hot," Min Yi confirmed. Leo nodded, satisfied, and went to investigate the lamp in the corner. Min Yi looked at Nadia. She was looking at him. "I owe you an apology," he said. "You don't." "I should have told you sooner what was happening in this house." He held her gaze. "You were in it whether I told you or not. You deserve to have the information to protect yourself." She looked at her hands. "I would like to keep my job," she said, "if that's still." Your job is yours as long as you want it. I like the work, she said. I'm good at it and I need it. I know all three of those things, he said. She looked up. I've also adjusted your compensation retroactive to your start date, he said. You've been handling more than your job description for 6 months. She stared at him. Mr. Kang. Min Yi, he said. We're past that. She looked at him. Min Yi, she said. You don't have to. I'm aware I don't have to, he said. That's what makes it different from what Jai Yon was doing. They sat with that. Leo appeared from the lamp investigation, carrying something he had found. A small button. He offered it to Min Yi. Min Yi took it. He looked at it for a moment. He looked at Leo. Thank you, he said. Welcome, Leo said. He went back to the lamp. Nadia was watching him. She looked at Min Yi. He was watching Leo too. With the specific expression of a man who keeps encountering something he does not have the vocabulary for yet. She said, Are you actually all right after all of it? He thought about it. She appreciated that. It meant the answer was real. I was angry for a long time, he said. I channeled it into the problem. It was the only useful thing to do with it. He looked at his hands. It's strange to not be performing anymore. Which part? She asked. He looked at her. The absence, he said. The not seeing people. I told myself it was strategic, not engaging with the staff so Jai Yon wouldn't target them. She was quiet. But the truth is it became a habit, he said. Not engaging at all, not with anyone. It was easier to watch than to. He stopped. To what? She said. He looked at her. He said, to be the kind of person who says someone's name. She thought about the morning in the sunroom. The first time he had said her name. 4 months in. She had frozen. She had told herself it meant nothing. She looked at him now. At this man who had sat in a chair for 26 days, watching everything. Who had said Leo stays. Who had taken a cracker and a rubber band and a small button with complete gravity. Who had said you were terrified, and you said it anyway, and I thought that was the most honest thing I had seen in a long time. She said, Why did you start? He looked at her. Saying my name, she said. He was quiet for a moment. He said, Because you told Jai Yon not to touch your son. She looked at her hands. I've told you that. I know, he said. I'm still answering it. She looked at him. He looked at her. He said, I had been watching this house for 4 months before that. I had been in rooms with you 3 times a week. I had watched you do your job with a precision that most people in this building couldn't match. I had watched you keep your head down and your mouth closed, and I had watched you carry it. He paused. And then Jai Yon grabbed your son's arm, and you put yourself between them, and your voice was shaking, and you said it anyway. She was very still. I thought, he said, if there is one person in this house I can trust, it is that woman. She pressed her lips together. She was not going to let herself feel too much about this. She was 27 years old with a toddler and a studio apartment and a job in this house. And Min Yi was a 38-year-old Korean tech billionaire who had just dismantled a corporate conspiracy from a chair he didn't need. They were not a situation. They were 2 people who had been through something strange together and come out on the other side. That was enough. It was also, she thought, the beginning of something. She could feel the beginning of it. She did not have a name for it yet. I should get back to work, she said. You don't have to today. I want to, she said. It's the kind of day where I need something ordinary. He nodded. She stood. Leo found her from across the room. He had his arms up. She picked him up. She was at the door when he said her name. Nadia. She turned. He was looking at her. Thank you, he said, for the 5 days. She looked at this man. She thought about a cracker offered across a kitchen. She thought about a rubber band accepted with gravity. She thought about a button from a lamp base held like it mattered. She thought about what it meant when someone treated small true things as if they were worth something. Because they were. She said, "Thank you for taking Leo's cracker." Something happened in his expression. Something complete. Not almost a smile. Actually one. She turned before she did something with her own face that she was not ready to account for. Leo waved over her shoulder at him. She heard him say something in Korean that she did not understand. She kept walking. In the long year that followed. The investigation. The press. The acquisition attempt collapsed publicly and thoroughly. Park Sung-woo and Jae Yeon facing consequences that arrived quietly and completely the way consequences arrived when evidence was meticulous. A company rebuilt with better walls. A staff who had been protected and compensated and told by Min Yi in an all-hands meeting that a company was not judged by how it treated its most powerful people, but by how it treated the people whose names were not on the building. Mrs. O, who had received an apology and given one, and had somehow come through both better than she entered them. Gerald, who had known more than he ever said, and had been loyal in the quiet way that loyalty was most useful. And Nadia. And Leo. And the slow, quiet thing that grew between two people who had chosen honesty at inconvenient moments and found in each other the specific rarity of someone who meant what they said. It did not arrive with a grand gesture. It arrived the way real things arrived. In accumulation. Tuesday evenings, where Min Yi appeared in the kitchen and sat at the small table while Nadia prepared dinner, and Leo conducted his ongoing investigation of the lower cabinets. Sunday mornings, where Leo climbed onto the chair beside Min Yi's in the sunroom without asking, and Min Yi moved his coffee exactly 3 inches to create space without commenting on it. The afternoon, Min Yi brought Leo a book about a big bear and read it to him in Korean, and Leo sat completely still for 14 pages, which was a record. The evening, Nadia came back from a late supply run to find Leo asleep against Min Yi's arm on the library sofa, and Min Yi reading with the specific careful stillness of someone who did not want to wake a sleeping child. The morning, Min Yi said her name before she had finished setting down the coffee tray, and she did not freeze this time. She just turned. She just looked at him. And he looked at her. And they were, she thought, 2 people who had been through something strange and had come out on the other side and found that the other side was somewhere worth being. He said, "There's something I want to ask you." She sat down. She folded her hands. She waited. He said, "I want to keep doing this." She looked at him. "Mornings," he said. "This, you bringing the coffee, the sunroom." "That's my job," she said. "No," he said. "I mean," he stopped. He looked at his hands. "I mean I want to keep doing this specifically, not as an employer, as something else." She looked at him. She thought about a cracker accepted. A rubber band taken seriously. A button from a lamp base held like it mattered. She thought about a man who had said you were terrified, and you said it anyway. She thought about Leo asleep against his arm. She thought about the beginning of something she had felt in the sun room months ago and had not named. She thought about what it meant to be seen. Not managed. Not neutralized. Seen. She said, "You're going to have to be very clear about what something else means." He almost smiled. She recognized the almost. She had been recognizing it for months. She waited for the actual one. He said, "I would like to have coffee with you, not as your employer, as the man in this room who has been saying your name since October because you told someone not to touch your son." From the corridor, Leo's voice arrived. "Mama, Mama Cracker." She closed her eyes briefly. She opened them. She looked at Min Yi. She said, "Yes." He looked at her. "To the coffee," she said. "To whatever something else is, yes." Leo appeared in the doorway. He looked between them. He walked to Min Yi. He climbed up onto the chair beside him without asking. He put his hand on Min Yi's knee. He looked at the coffee. "Hot," he said. "Still very hot," Min Yi confirmed. Leo looked satisfied. He looked at his mother. He pointed at Min Yi. He said, "Keep." Nadia looked at her son. She looked at Min Yi. Min Yi looked at Leo with the expression she had no vocabulary for. The one that meant something enormous was being processed quietly. "He's decided," she said. "He decided in the kitchen on the second day," Min Yi said. "He offered me a cracker." "I remember." "I should have understood it then," he said. She looked at him. "I think you did," she said. He looked at the coffee cup. He almost smiled again. She waited for the full one. He gave it to her. Leo patted his knee twice. Satisfied. His work complete. He slid off the chair. He went to find the rubber spatula. Nadia and Min Yi sat in the sunroom in the October light. The coffee between them. The beginning of something unnamed. The most ordinary, extraordinary morning. And that is where this story ends. Not with the engagement. Not with the investigation. Not with a wheelchair folded against the library wall like something that had done its job and been set aside. But in a sunroom on an October morning, with coffee getting cold and a toddler who had decided something on the second day and had been waiting for the adults to catch up ever since. Nadia Washington had said, "Don't touch him again," in a voice that was shaking. She had said it because it was true. She had said it because the sound of Leo crying out was the one thing that completely removed her ability to be invisible. She had not expected it to change anything. She had not expected a man in a wheelchair to say the boy stays. She had not expected to be seen. She had not expected any of it. But she had said the true thing when she was afraid. And that had been the beginning. Leo had offered a cracker on the second day. He had offered a rubber band after that. A button from a lamp base. His complete, unfiltered certainty that the man in the chair was keep. He had not been wrong. He was never wrong. He was 2 years old, and he saw everything, and he said it, and he was always right. Now I want to hear from you. Drop your city and the time it is where you are right now in the comments. Drop a yellow heart for Leo, who offered a cracker on the second day and had already decided. Drop a yellow heart for Nadia, who said the true thing when she was terrified. Tell me, have you ever said the true thing when you were afraid? Share this video with every woman who has ever stood between her child and someone powerful with shaking hands. Subscribe to Afro-Korean Love Stories. Hit like, because the boy stays. He always stayed. And Afro-Korean Love Stories will keep bringing you more. Thank you for watching.